Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to hopefully make some or a lot of money on the internet. Shouldn't be too hard at the moment. Things are going up. Things are green. We are happy about that. Loaded up for discussion today. We have ETH running to 4.7K on record ETF inflows and relentless BitMine bid after filing to raise $20 billion more. To raise 20 billion to buy more ETH. Second, USDC issuer Circle announces plans for its own L1. That's on the back of news that Stripe are also doing their own L1. Can't wait for Bread to break that down a little bit later today. And finally, Do Kwon, one of the most famous, infamous criminals from the previous cycle, will plead guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy to defraud in connection to the collapse of algorithmic stablecoin Terra. So big news there as well, I think. But don't dwell in the past too much at the moment. There's a lot of positive stuff to discuss too. We've got all the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual. And cannot wait to get into it with my co-host Bread today. But just a reminder before we do, guys, nothing that we say here is financial advice. The market is so risky, even if it just appears to the naked eye that the chart is just green relentlessly. We do not know anything for sure, so please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Bread, it is Wednesday, the 13th of August. The charts are more green than ever. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
And it's the day I'm back, baby.
You're back.
Coincidence?
Why did you ever leave? How did you?
I did it for the price.
For Copenhagen.
I did it. I did it for everyone.
When you left, what was the price?
Question. Let's go look at my dear friend CoinGecko's chart for Ethereum. We'll take this thing back a solid month because it's about what. So we were looking at
how the world has changed.
How the world has changed. We were looking at a sub 3K ETH. If you pick the right day. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you for. Well, what do we thank you? Are we thanking you for coming back or thank you for leaving? No, it was good that you left because that's when the price action happened.
Yeah. So right. I'm sorry for being back.
Thank you for your apology.
Probably aren't gonna
for returning. We will send you away somewhere soon if we encounter any more issues, right? That seems to be how this works then.
If things turn south. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just send you away.
Yeah, but I'm back. I missed Monday because I overslept, so that's my bad. Might be people trying to correct that now that we're back on the West Coast, which sucks, frankly. It's 4 a.m. here again, but we're getting back in the groove. We got to just get the body acclimated to living over here. So things are good. Fucking people are launching blockchains like fucking I was gonna say Tic Tacs or Skittles. That doesn't make any sense, but there's a lot of them and they're small. There's just all over the fucking place. You got 6 of them announced. I even did a tweet yesterday of just look, man, I'm building a blockchain. I'm on a team building a blockchain. We're launching a blockchain, and even I sit here and I'm like, bro, do we need another blockchain? Do we need one? Solana's doing all right. Ethereum scaling's got stuff, and then that's we're years behind these other teams that are doing this stuff. It's if we launch now, is it gonna be a thing? But then you look at the landscape and then you realize the scale of the players that are launching chains now. Stripe, Circle, you're gonna have even bigger people, and these aren't even people launching a chain. They're announcing that they're gonna launch a chain in the future, and I'm then I get to think about that. I'm okay, the scale of this industry is gonna be gargantuan. It's gonna engulf the world, and in that future, none of these chains can service the amount of demand that if you do plan to put everything plus on chain, then the chains can't handle it. They just can't. So you need more, you need bigger, you need everything, and obviously we're tuned for bigger, faster. So we're one step closer, but we'll fall short of what global demand will eventually be. So it reaffirms my conviction that yes, we do need more chains, especially specifically ones built configured like Mega ETH.
Like it. Yeah, I mean, to your point on scale, everything is kind of the picture that we painted, or the bull case for Ethereum and actually other smart contract blockchains as well, is that everything will come on chain, right? BlackRock's been talking BlackRock bought into that thesis for a long time. They've told everyone that that was the plan to bring everything on chain, or at least a lot of things on chain. And it looks like other companies are buying into that idea as well. And it will just kind of depend on, I guess, people's perspective has been, okay, good. It's, you know, blockchains will be everywhere, and there will be more, and there will be insatiable demand. But people are then, the secondary question, which we're always asking in the space, is, okay, how do you profit from that? How do you place the bets, the appropriate bets for that? And maybe that's what we'll go into a little bit later when we kind of dive into that section, because obviously the reason we're talking about it this morning is because Circle are also in that game now.
Not good for our coins.
Not good
the
for
way that they're doing it.
Interesting.
I mean, not directly good for our coins, right? Like,
Okay.
you know, I actually tweeted on it yesterday. Like, well, again, we'll talk about it, but like, bro, it's another L1. Like, it's the Tolly's. This is Tolly's mindset of like why he pushes back against like any L2 inside of like the Solana ecosystem. And he's just like, even people like Bullet is was Zeta Markets, which was a perp protocol on top of Solana that went and launched what is like called a network extension over there, right? And like, Tristan is the guy who's launching it. Smart guy, really good guy. Like, he's looking to do everything he can to be Solana aligned as this like network extension / L2. And like, yo, man, like, we're just trying to grow the Solana pie. We're settling to it. We're doing all these things. And so he's like, I don't care. You're outside of this, the Solana bubble. You're competing with me and my validators. And it's like, you're net bad for us. And that's broadly what, like, how you think about with all this stuff. And that was the critique against the L2 roadmap stuff. Is like, whenever you have like separate execution environments, so just like separate pockets of like state where just like everything is isolated, nothing else can communicate with other stuff, right? So like, you have base, which cannot talk to like an NFT that you have on Ethereum, right? It's a separate pocket, separate everything, separate execution environment. It's like, you're fucking competing, bro. Like, you're if anyone who transacts and like pays $1 for something in this environment, it takes away $1 or demand from like elsewhere, right? So whether it's, you know, you're taking away from Solana because you're doing it on top of Solana, you're taking away from Ethereum, you're taking away from Base, you're taking away from ETH, you're like, you're taking away from, you're competing with all these other people. And Stripe and Circle and Tether and all these guys are launching separate execution environments. They are their own pocket in the world where they're going to do everything in their power to drive people, users, activity to this pocket, because that means more fees for them. So like, they're all competing. And like, that's one more reason not to buy Ethereum. That's one more reason not to buy Solana. One more reason not to buy, you know, Mega Token, right? Like, it's one more reason for all these things.
So the core question there, which we're going to hold back on, but I'm going to place it out there so people know we're coming to it, is there such thing? Is there any value in a stable coin chain? This is obviously something that is being pushed by various people because they are building chains for stable coins to move on. But then at the same time, you're hearing Wall Street literally telling you Ethereum is a stablecoin chain. Like, it is the stablecoin chain / it is a stablecoin chain. It is the one. So that is the core question, which we're going to talk about Circle a little bit later. We'll come back to that question though, because let's get into the headlines first. But that is one that everyone wants to know the answer to, right? Because everyone is bullish on stablecoins. Everyone knows that money moving around the world is going to be super important, and knowing where that value is exchanged is going to be super important. So
I will do one final point before we go to the headlines, is that like, just to put a bookend on like the capacity needs, or like the world coming on chain stuff, just like a simple heuristic for everyone to use to like know like what's coming and how much we're actually going to need, right? Like, so all these chains have a capacity, right? A capacity is like what like volume usage it can support before prices go parabolic, and then like it no longer is like cheap, effective, whatever, useful to do the thing. It gets exorbitantly costly, just like Ethereum, right? Ethereum mainnet back in the day, after, you know, you get 15 transactions per second, costs go through the fucking roof, then you're paying, you know, $5,000 for a single transaction to mint another deed, right? It's on other side deed. So like, at that point, it's functionally down, because like the vast majority of the world is priced out of actually using it. It's effectively down for the average user. If you look at what the ecosystem today, look at Hyperliquid. Right, Hyperliquid is one of the higher activity chains in our ecosystem. It is still a subset of like was it like 8% of all perps volume of centralized exchanges. It's like 80% of all on chain, and it's 0% of like NASDAQ, FX, stocks, whatever. Right? It has none of those things. And right now, today, in its controlled environment, like where again, it's very tightly coupled validators where it doesn't have to worry about like decentralization, all this shit. Like it does this stuff to lean into it. It's doing about 10,000 TPS, right? Transactions per second. If you take, so that's Hyperliquid and it's unutilized form, right? Again, it's 8% of SEX volume. It's 0% of NASDAQ usage and like stocks, whatever. And then you look at like the rest of the chains and see what they're doing. Solana is at 1200 TPS. Base is at 200 TPS, maybe 100 TPS because they actually just updated some stuff. Optimism, Arbitrum, whatever, all those chains combined are all like adding up to like 250, 300 TPS total amongst all of them, right? So like if you have all of these chains, the full capacity that all of them have, it still doesn't even add up to 1/10 of what, or not, I'll say it's like 1/5 of what Hyperliquid is doing today, and Hyperliquid is doing 1/10 of what centralized exchanges are doing for only perps volume, which is not including all the general purpose stuff that we think are going to be on chain, where you're tokenizing assets, where you're doing Pokemon cards, where you're doing lending protocols, you're doing all this shit, which is then not even including the NASDAQ. So like when you think about the upper bound of all this stuff and where we are relative to that, like it's so easy to see that like, bro, we need way more capacity if we think blockchain is going to be applied the ways that we think it is. So that's just for everyone to like use a currently used metric to gauge where this place is going or where it will need to go.
I like it. Always helpful. That's what should have been missing. We need those on-chain analysis, Brad. Appreciate that. Look, let's get into the main stuff. We've got a lot to discuss today, and it's looking good. Let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen here. We have got the majors as usual. Starting us off, we've got Bitcoin up a couple of percent to $120,500. We've got ETH up almost 10% to almost 4.7K. Did go above it, just dipped down. 30% up on the week. Confessional here is getting to the point where all of the trading that I did, selling some ETH, going to Hyperliquid, crushing that trade, is getting to the point where all of it was pointless. I could have just held the ETH, probably. That's how rapid this rise has been back, and how, I mean, I thought I did great on the Hyperliquid trade. Now it's starting to feel a little bit like, okay,
bro, I am living the nightmare of these fucking treasury companies. The one feedback you hear from anyone like discussing them, saying like talking about getting into them, the feedback is like, be careful playing with them because you would hate to be right on the thesis, which is the underlying token, and then the trade blows up.
100%.
Right? I did this just because I didn't want to bring the money on chain. It's like the only way I could get hype exposure with that money. So I bought that fucking treasury company, and it is getting nuked in the face of this fucking at hype running to $45, $50. Like I should be up what is it, 10, 20%, whatever it is. I am down like 40%. It's
that's not
garbage.
Okay. And it's a reminder, I think, and we'll talk a little bit about BitMine in this as well. Like, it's just a reminder, we need to understand the mechanics. These are like very new vehicles, and some of them are operating in smart ways that are kind of protecting new buyers because lockups are kind of fine. And some of them are operating very much like an OTC deal where, these people can buy into these placements and sell pretty soon after they've bought. And it's the same as when VCs have locked tokens and can just dump on your head. But, each company is very, very different. And so I feel like there's an additional level of analysis that we have definitely not done in the kind of early excitement of these treasury companies. So I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Funky, your hand is raised. I know you guys are keeping a close eye on the treasury stuff. Before we carry on with the roundup, come in here.
So first and foremost, I aped when you guys first talked
about treasury. Your volume is super low, Funky.
Dial it up, buddy.
No, that's weird because your volume sounded really low earlier.
What about now? Is that better?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, anyhow, I was just going to say I aped
Much
into
better.
the treasury companies when you guys first brought them up. And of course, getting shellacked on SharpLink, but doing really well with BitMine. But you guys need to be more imaginative about the title because it says 4,700 all-time high coming. We're like $20 shy of that right now. So I don't know why you guys didn't just put 5K. But yeah, ETH is driven right now.
ETH is ripping right
Where's
now.
the man, B-check?
What do I need to do? Just buy 5K of ETH? Is that what I suppose?
No, no, set the headlines is what he's saying. We're like, the headline's talking, 4,700 incoming. Like it's going to be gone by the time the show ends is what he's saying.
Well, we need a piece of Funky's got the gold chain for the Bitcoin all-time high. I wonder what kind of jewelry or like
You
come on,
gotta have
Brad,
the Vitalik.
you're very ETH
What's
aligned. What are you going to put on?
What's the picture that everyone has these days? Like the purple image has got like the fucking rings that are all diamond out, and then like the grill that they always show.
We need that for you though. You're the most ETH aligned out of everyone.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm the most ETH aligned. That's why I've been asked to do an ETH podcast. I'm like, guys, I don't know if I'm the guy. I don't know if I'm the guy. I still think I've been going. I don't know if you saw me go after DC Investor this weekend, or maybe it was earlier this week. I don't remember, but DC Investor is doing this whole like, oh, you guys, like he's fucking pounding his chest, man. Like, you guys are fucking retarded. If you guys thought anything was like ever gonna go, whatever, ignore Rev, ignore everything. It's like ETH is a non-sovereign store of value. It's going to a so, right. He's doing that bullshit. I'm telling every single one of you guys, if you ignore the thought process that everyone has had over the last 18 months of like how to value these things, just because people are going, ETH is the stablecoin chain, which doesn't make any fucking sense, then you're gonna be hurt, right? Like, so like ride this wave. It's good, it's great, but the exact same thought process that everyone inside of the industry went through to like come to try to figure out how to value these things are the exact same mechanisms that TradFi dudes are going to go through, right? And they already are. Like some of them already are, and they're going to sit there and they're going to go, okay, but why is ETH valuable? Like stable coins, okay, but like I can buy ARK. I can buy Circle IPO or Circle as a stock. I can buy things that are literally stable coins. Why would I buy Ethereum, which doesn't even really make any value or get any value because stable coins are adjacent to it, whenever I want the stablecoin thing? Like they will buy the stablecoin thing because you can get access to it. You don't have that equivalent on Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin's thing is like Bitcoin's thing. It's digital gold. Like it's this magical internet money. Like it's cool. It's whatever. Like it's special snowflake. I've accepted that. Let that live. Ethereum does not have that. And because it's a smart contract platform, it will not have that, because you can always have these underlying assets that are more direct exposure to the thing that they want, that are driving revenue, that can get plugged into spreadsheets. That shit's going to keep happening. I'm telling you, like, we're going to revisit that narrative, and people are going to, if they use this current pump to rest on their laurels, like they're going to get got.
Strong takes. I'm not going to respond now.
I
want to come back to it in a second. When we talk BitMine, because we are going to circle back to that. I want to get to the rest of the roundup, get people up to speed. Just a quick point on the comments. Never asked about treasury companies. Is it new way to dump on retail? We'll circle back to that. As I said, I'm going to ignore Rahim's take about my price targets. I think he just thinks we're going to the moon now. VX Crypto. ETH still has terrible UX. Can't wait for Mega ETH, to be honest. I think that's a general criticism as well. Zama asking, will all these changes not be ETH EVM? We'll come back to that question when Brad talks circles, ARK chain. So all of these things we're going to come back to. I'm just very conscious, need to get you the core news first. All good questions, all excellent debates. So as you said, price action, ETH up 10% to almost 4.7. XRP's up 5% to $3.30, up 12% on the week. Solana's up 15%. So Solana deciding to outperform today, back to $200, up 23% on the week. We have Hyperliquid up 10%. Oh, that's good. Didn't know it had gone there. At $46, up 23% on the week. Sui kind of lagging a little bit here compared to before. Well, not too bad. Up 11% to $4. That's pretty good. So up 18% on the week. Getting into the meme coin side of things to get you up to speed. Doge is up 10%. Pepe's up 10%, Pengu's up 8%, Bonk is up 11%, Trump is up 8%, Pump is up 14%, back to the ICO price, all the investors. I don't know how the Pump investors felt about giving Alon a ton of money and then him using all that money to buy the token back like at half price over the next few weeks. But I guess that's just how it goes sometimes in this industry. Fartcoin up 30%, huge bounce on Fartcoin to $1.11. WIF is up 16%. So look, huge green day across the board on memes.
Can we look at some DeFi stuff? I want to look at like Pendle specifically, because Pendle announced their Boros thing recently. They got a pop on that. I want to see how they're doing.
Okay.
And then also just like out some of the, look at that.
So Pendle up 8% on the day, 50% on the week.
Yeah. Did you see the Boros announcement?
I didn't. What was that one?
Yeah,
I've been looking at Aave a lot. I was bringing Aave up on the show yesterday. The TVL has exploded there. I don't know if you've seen, but tell us about Pendle, then I'll check Aave as well.
Yeah, I mean, the TVL stuff is going to be kind of, if like, you should look at the ETH denominated TVL, because like dollar denominated, yeah, like Ethereum is running hard, so like it just like by default is increasing.
That's true.
So that's true for like most of these things. But like Pendle later last week announced their Boros product, which basically is just like a yield swap protocol that they have created, and it's getting a lot of traction, and it's like in the same vertical as like bringing a lot of these TradFi instruments on chain, right? And it's Pendle is something that I've already have exposure to, because like I think it's a very strong protocol. It's the only place whenever I think of like where to go for yield and for trading for all these things, I think Pendle. Now with dropping this additional protocol, which is already gaining pretty good traction, and heard some analysts saying it was already beating their expectations on like the level of adoption that it's receiving. Yeah, it's one that I'm heavily watching as a user of the protocol. It's very good. I've enjoyed it. Yeah. So, but like, as we do this like ETH treasury stuff, and we see that, okay, ETH is glowing up right now, people are going to start depositing this ETH into on-chain protocols in order to maximize their yield, in order to have a better treasury product to compete with other treasury companies, because that's the edge that ETH has over Bitcoin, is that you can be productive with the asset.
Yes,
and then you have access to all of this stuff. So like if people are going to start depositing these huge sums of money, right, they're buying billions of dollars a day for some people, then like they're going to go into some of these products, and if some of these products are going to go up because of that. So I'm trying to keep an eye on them.
I think it's a great line of thinking. Maybe some of that move has already been had. We just brought up Pendle.
For sure.
Aave is also up 30% on the week, pushing towards $330. If you look at the chart on Aave, looks like if this move on ETH continues, this looks like it's gonna, there was an all-time high back in 2021, a long time ago, and then a bit of a pump into the start of this year. It looks like it will kind of go into reprice discovery, even though that all-time high before was much higher. This looks like it can really, really go. It's just like in a way, this is kind of just tracking ETH, isn't it? It's like just beneath all-time high, ready to go above if ETH is going up. And I guess one of my thoughts here, maybe we were going to talk about this after, but we might as well talk about it now. Let's bring up this tweet from. Actually, no, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it because I want to get people up to speed, and then we're going to be talking more ETH. So let me get back to the thing. It's getting exciting. There's too many things green at the moment. It's just you're kind of getting dragged into different directions, which is actually part of the conversation that we want to have. Like, if ETH is going good, if ETH is going well, sorry, do you just buy the damn ETH, or do you buy something else? That's going to be the core question. But so that's what's going on the meme coin side of things. Getting back to the headlines themselves, things that we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about ETH going potentially to all-time high. We're going to be talking about USDC Issuer Circle announcing its plan for its own L1. And we've got Do Kwon pleading guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy to defraud in connection to the collapse of algorithmic stablecoin Terra. That's from the last cycle. In other notable price action, OKX's token went up 130% after a token burn was announced. Aero's up 20% as well. Another kind of ETH beta play potentially. The main dex on base, that's at 2.2 bill now. Some big notable sales on the NFT side. CryptoPunk still routinely selling between 55, 60 something ETH. 2 Beeple Politics is bullshit sold for 51.9 ETH and 52 ETH respectively. That's the edition I'm showing on screen here. Another edition of the X Copy The Doomed, which is like one of his classic editions, sold for 42 ETH. That's definitely one of the one that's like, I don't know if that's like all-time high for those editions, but they were selling for like 20 ETH in the bear market when ETH was lower. So huge wins on the NFT side. Okay, let's whack this roundup out of the park. Peter Thiel revealed to have 7.5% ownership in ETHZilla, the ETH treasury vehicles. That stock jumped 90%. You've got Coinbase announcing second ever stablecoin liquidity fund to boost USDC liquidity. I thought that was interesting. They basically got a ton of money. They're going to start making sure there's enough USDC everywhere to lend to all the people who want to do stuff. I guess it's an attractive yield at the moment. So if you've got money, you'll just print money doing that. As people take more risk, the rates go higher. Private and untraceable cryptocurrency Monero is under governance attack by Kubik, who have reached over 51% of Monero's hash rate. They have not decided to launch a takeover yet. OKX, as I said, announced token burn, sending its token up 100 and something percent. Prominent crypto VC Pantera, this is interesting, revealed it has invested over $300 million into crypto treasury companies. I recommend like double clicking there and having a read on like what that means, because I think they released a letter kind of explaining what they've been up to. Bitcoin meme coin launchpad Odin suffers a $7 million exploit. Spark season 1 ends for providing stablecoin liquidity. Season 2 goes live now. Shout out to Jay Ruggs in our Telegram, who shared that I think that was very, very profitable season 1 for people. So I would recommend just taking a look at season 2. Sometimes season 2 is not as good as season 1, but have a look at it. I think we're going to do some research in the Telegram to see if it's worth it. Rec Drinks teases upcoming collaboration with Base. They're really crushing it in general. I think the price of Rect is up maybe 10% or so today. They've obviously done Abstract collabs, Binance collabs now with Base. Doodles revealed Telegram, which goes live today on the Ton blockchain Telegram game, that should say. Alphabot announced Pulse, a product to capture mindshare and combine with verifiable on-chain activity. There's definitely this move in the InfoFi world to capture, yes, the yapping and the social side, but also some kind of like, what are you doing on chain? There's an attempt to try to capture that to get a bit more information on these characters. OpenSea announced an AI creator competition with $10,000 prize, and Moonbirds jumped to 3 ETH before slight pullback today. A lot to get through there, Brad. We've been yapping a lot about a variety of things so far. Before we get into the main headlines, because we've got that big conversation to have on ETH, got a big conversation to have on Circle's chain. Anything else you want to touch on here before we get into that main stuff?
Nothing really jumps out at me other than like, as I see the rec string stuff going on, it makes me want to like reach out to Mando and like, bro, you want to partner up with Meggy to a rec collab on it? But then that makes me go to like is that on brand situation? Like having to be the person over all that stuff is like, you have to choose the right collaborations, because like everyone wants to collab with us, and like I have to often like shoot down people just like, bro, we're not doing it, because like I think the X blank collab stuff is cheap and whatever. So you have to make sure that like if you are doing a collab, it's worthwhile for both parties, and like I said, on brand. So that inspired me a little bit to see that, and like, that'd be kind of cool to partner with those guys. Maybe I'll send them a message.
I mean, yeah, we're obviously partnered with Yeet at the moment. We can try and make that happen. That'd be fun. That'd be very fun. Yeah. So one thing I've been thinking about on the partnership side, and this is actually maybe slightly tangential before we get into the headlines, but like one of the reasons I think I've been offline a bit more recently is because we're doing all of these partnerships at the moment. We're signing up a bunch of people for our like big rebrand. And so I guess you also, it's more of a personal conversation, to be honest. Like you've just been away from home as well.
Yeah.
And I've just been thinking, like, to what extent is it helpful to be online all the time and like yapping all the time? As in, like, by yapping, I mean tweeting. Like how much is this helpful, as a decision maker when it comes to investing? And I'm finding being off is slightly more helpful for that. Obviously, as you're building a business, it is there are certain things you need to do in the business, which means you just can't be online all the time. And especially with the additional workload of needing to do this kind of rebrand stuff, signing up partners as part of it. The whole thing that you're looking at on the show, guys, if you're watching on video on Twitter or on YouTube, like this whole thing's going to change. It's going to look 100 times better. It's going to feel 100 times better. It's going to be a much better experience. The whole brand is getting a facelift, but you just can't be on all the time. And I'm just curious from your perspective, like, as it seems like we're going into a period of mania, how are you preparing yourself for like the balance between being online, consuming content, like as a reader, as a watcher, as a listener to podcasts, as a producer of content, versus like, you know, you're busy, also busy building a chain. You're also busy like managing these positions as well. So just a personal question before we get into the main stuff.
Yeah, the caveat to that managing positions is like, don't listen to me on advice for that.
Yeah, you're not as big on that side of things.
I abstain from the managing position stuff as a person.
We'll just tell you when to
on the
do
Kaido stuff because of LOL. Yeah. But like for the rest of it, yeah, like is it critical for every single person on every single team to do that? No. Is it pretty fucking important to do it as one? If you're a lone ranger, is it pretty important to do it? I would say so. If you are someone that's trying to grow in this industry, if you are one of a team of people who like are all trying to like grow and extend your tendrils into the ecosystem, is it important? Yes, for at least one of the team, right? Like and I say that as someone who's like, the reason I'm now working for Mega ETH is because I was on the timeline and present and understood the conversation. Right? Like the only way to really like embed yourself in the collective mind of CT is to participate. And the only way to participate effectively is to have context and to know, like to have the feel for what's like being discussed, to be relevant, right? Because if I view it almost like a party, right? Like, or you're just like at a fucking work function. And if everyone is there and everyone's in a circle, right? Everyone from all the different departments are hanging out, they're in a circle and they're talking about like X. And then you just like come in out of left field and you go, dude, my dog is a dick. Or like, did you guys hear about this other thing? And like, everyone's gonna look at you like, bro, like no one's talking about that right now. Like go away. Like, it's just not like whatever. So like, unless you are participating enough to understand what like the current conversation is going on, you're going to appear like out of touch, right? And then like therefore you're not going to gain like good traction, and therefore they're not going to let you participate in the conversation. And I think it is paramount to participate, to do that, to grow, to seem competent, to contribute, you know, thoughtfully into that conversation, because that's how you grow as an authority in this ecosystem. And yeah, like, so for us specifically, you know, I would say you don't need to, because you have Legendary and I that do that. So like we are able to grow our brands in like as like Modern Market, and then like leverage that for networking connections, for like, you know, whatever. Same thing for like Mega ETH, right? Mega ETH has a lot of people that just like don't participate. Like they're whatever. That's just not their thing. That is why they brought me on the team, because they need representation on the timeline to understand context, to see what the perceived position of the chain is, to even like let people know, like I'm a conduit for people to know that Mega ETH exists and to want to build on it, right? So like people come to me all the time of like, hey, I want to do this thing, and I funnel them to the rest of the team so that like we grow our mind share, we do our whatever. So yeah. Is it important? Yes, I think it is, crucially so. And like my work has been pulling me away from it, and I have to constantly reiterate, even to my superiors who don't always understand it. It's like you need to trust me that this is a necessary thing, and like it is the net good, even though it does not look productive necessarily. It like the reason I can do things on the timeline to help turn narratives, to help like position ourselves to do that stuff, is because I am contributing in non-Mega ETH ways 60-70% of the time, right? I have to be able to talk about things that people care about, which is Solana, which is scalability, which is fucking Cardano sometimes, which is like, I have to be able to go to them, to contribute to them, to then be able to come back and say like, by the way, you guys should look at Mega ETH. And like that builds it up. So yes, I think it's so crucial, especially in a bull market.
I like it. I think it's one of the things that people, yeah, I like it. I think that's just helpful perspective as people are trying to navigate the market now as things get more intense to try to figure out their priorities, and to give that some thought. Definitely helpful to be around some good people though, who you can kind of share the load with in some ways. Right, look, we got to get into the main stuff today. Been an incredibly exciting day on the price action side. We have first headline is to do with, I'm going to share my screen at the same time. We have ETH up at around 4.7K on an absolute heater because BitMine went all in, is going all in on ETH, 20 billion stock issuance to buy more Ethereum. This is the news that BitMine has been steadily increasing its equity issuance plans over the past month. This is from Blockmates. The company first entered into agreements with Cantor Fitzgerald and Think Equity on July the 9th to sell up to 2 billion in common stock via an ATM offering. That figure was raised to 4.5 billion in an amended filing on July the 24th. Now, with the latest supplement, BitMine is boosting its issuance capacity to 24.5, more than 5 times the original amount. So while the primary goal is to grow its ETH holdings, the company noted in its prospectus that proceeds could also be used for Bitcoin purchases and to expand its Bitcoin mining and consulting operations. I don't know if they've been doing that at all. I think they're pretty damn focused on ETH from the way Tom Lee has been speaking about in general. Although I would say they've also announced this kind of buyback program as well. If you remember that news like 1 or 2 weeks ago, Brad. And I think the thing that this highlights to me is the importance of reading the details on these things. So I think there is a bit of magic taking place in BitMine, for example, where there's a certain amount of the stock being bought back, and then there's a certain amount that is just being used to buy ETH. And so it's like this constant, are they managing sell pressure on one side from the people who have the stock, but they're buying back the stock at the same time? So it's like this kind of controlled thing, whereas you said, for example, you bought one of the treasury companies and just been down only, despite the fact that the underlying token has been going up. Because if this stuff's not managed in the right way, you can see how the sell pressure can kind of outpace, or can be too relentless quite early on. The other news that's very much related to this was the news that the ETH ETF saw another, it's not a record day because one day, I think the start of this week saw a $1.1 billion day, but it saw another 524 million in inflows after the record breaking day, which was 1.1 bill. So this extends the Ether fund's positive streak to 6 consecutive days, during which they attracted 2.3 billion in net inflows. And I've just got this, if you look at this chart, which is kind of showing the net flows for Bitcoin and ETH, obviously, if you look towards like, I don't know, some time ago, you had the orange of Bitcoin being much bigger. If you look across the year, can you see that well, Brad? That's showing up nicely.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, you've got like the orange absolutely dominating of Bitcoin, right? Like just way, way bigger than ETH over the time frame. But you look at the last 30 days, this blue proportion of ETH has, been way, way higher in comparison with Bitcoin, so Bitcoin, much bigger asset class, receiving on a relative basis less than ETH, which means, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin is struggling as such. It just means that because ETH is a lower market cap asset, it's going to move faster and higher quicker because the demand has just accelerated so much. So just big tailwinds here for ETH. And I guess 2 questions, Brad. One, like, do you see any reason for this to stop? And I can share some thoughts in a second as well. And maybe the second question is the one that I was saying I think everyone really wants to know the answer to, which is this, posed by, actually it was someone else. It was DC Investor kind of quote tweeted it about there being no reliable ETH beta. But Fiskanta, let's read the original tweet, which is this: the ETH beta is an elusive beast, something of a Bigfoot or a Loch Ness monster of the crypto world. This made me laugh because I started thinking the same thing. It reminded me back of like 2021 when you take the ETH that you had, you'd ape it into something thinking that you're going to outperform the ETH, and then ETH runs and then you realize like, oh, like, yeah, sure, I've made dollar money, but the whole point was to grow the ETH, and the ETH has stayed the same. So, you know, he goes on, many have claimed to spot it or even capture it on film, but so far there's no firm evidence it actually exists. Sometimes it's supposed to be Lido or Uni, Aave, or myriad of other DeFi coins. Sometimes it's a meme coin like Pepe or Mog. Other times it's an L2 token like OP or ARB or Coin. The truth is there is no reliable ETH beta that would work for longer than half a cycle. But if I had to pick one, I'd say that thing that is things denominated in ETH, which would be maybe ETH NFTs. So the two questions there: what do you think about the price action? It's been insane. Do you see any reason for it to slow down at all at the moment? And then second, this thing about trying to outperform it by going down the ETH curve.
Yeah. Okay. So the demand stuff, like, who knows when it'll stop? Like, all you could do is just sit there and keep looking at indicators and see, like, if there are other things that are being forecasted that signal that more buying pressure. So, like, clearly it's not stopped whenever you have stuff like BitMine doing the fucking $25 billion worth of issuance to try to buy more. So, like, we're going to keep seeing this stuff. If you listen to any podcasts that are people tapped into the VC market, then you know that people are getting shilled like a different treasury company every third day, or every 3 times every day, I should say. And they're all talking about it. Like, there's a shit ton of treasury companies coming to market, and it's right now it's mostly for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but you're starting to get more and more obscure ones. And you think like any token that has above like a fucking $1 billion market cap is probably gonna end up with a treasury company, because it's so, like, there's a bunch of grifters, frankly, that are coming and trying to make a quick buck on this stuff because it's like an IPO SPAC style rush. So, like, be cautious, and that's going to keep happening, and it's going to bubble up, right? So when is it going to stop? I can't pick a dollar figure. I'm just saying, like, there are things that we can look to see like when the momentum will stop, and I'm willing to ride the momentum for a little bit from here. Like, it does not seem like we are there yet, so we'll keep riding it, frankly. And I'm like, again, I don't know what a dollar figure is. Tom Lee's throwing out anything between like 15,000 this year and like 750,000 by 5 years from now. So, like, for Ethereum price. So, like, the numbers are ridiculous. But Kathy Wood has always done that for like a lot of her speculative stocks too, right? She's always said like Bitcoin's going to be $6 million by the end of like 2025, and she said like 5 years ago, right? Like, she always does these really outlandish things to kind of move the Overton window of what people accept as like the bull targets. So who the fuck knows? But, like, doesn't feel like it's right now. That's my spidey senses. And then the second question was like,
can I
beta stuff.
I'll just say one thing on that before we go into the second part of the question. I've been thinking increasingly about, or maybe this is like distilling all of previous experience in trying to figure this stuff out. In the end, it's just about flows of capital, I think. And this is maybe just like a conclusion I'm coming to now. And so it's like all of these arguments for Ethereum now, which, by the way, is what made me so like fall in love with it at the beginning, because I believed all the things that people are saying now. Like, this is so the arguments haven't changed. The things that have changed is it's been blessed by this group of people who have decided to buy into those things that we were saying. But I agree with you. You kind of criticized one of my takes last time. I was like, oh, it kind of doesn't matter what you say. I agree with you now. It does matter what we said all those times, because that constructed the arguments which these people have now picked up. And if we hadn't constructed them in those ways, maybe they would have run with a different argument. But we've constructed those narratives. They've been bought into by the right people now. And so that gives them the chance to allocate in a size that this space just is not familiar with. And I think it continues until that demand dries up. Basically, it's an institutional run. And I guess previously people's question was always like, well, this will be over when retail get wrecked or something like that. Trump meme coin wrecked the market, retail got wrecked, and therefore the whole market kind of, there were other things happening in January as well, but that was like a blow off top. Everyone got wrecked. There's no more money amongst retail to pump the random stuff. Therefore, the party has to close because retail has no more money. Now, I think the question is different, which is, when do they run out of money? When does their demand for this stuff run out? And I think, a lot of people are less less attuned to that. We got to start reading these treasury documents and figure out like the types of deals that are being put on the table, because then you'll know how much more demand there will be for those types of deals when those kind of things will, when they mature, when they're going to take profit, what the situation is when they are due to take profit, and then you'll know when potentially some of the demand can slow down, because there seems to be insatiable demand right now. There's unlimited capital that wants to just ape these various things, and so I think that's the question now that we've got to keep an eye on.
It's a meta, and I will say, like, take your reasoning there and like go to the next step, right? Like you said, the narratives that they're biting into now are the ones that we were chewing on a year and a half, 2 years ago, right? Like I had speculated, when Eric Trump was tweeting like buy ETH, it's at the bottom stuff. I was like, I think these people are retarded enough not to actually see the things that we're seeing, right? Like we were being skeptical of everything. We were running the numbers of like, guys, it doesn't make any sense. All these things are going to the L2s, like the actual execution. Like there's no value accrual here, right? Like we were questioning all these things, and that's where like we were buying into the Solana stuff, because like, okay, it owns all the activity, and because it owns the activity, it like gets the fees, and because it gets the fees, it's like it has a little flywheel, right? The single execution environment. And so you have to reflect back on your own perceived thoughts during those times. And were those thoughts there because you thought it made sense? Or was it just a reflection of the price? Like number go down, therefore I'm looking for reasons, and therefore like I'm grabbing onto things. So was it logical or was it emotional in those moments? And I posited that like, are these people retarded enough to like rerun the same thought process that we did, where we didn't actually question value accrual? We just kind of thought this like vague moneyness, store of value stuff was just going to make everything go up infinitely. Or are people going to sit there and skip that because they're smart enough? And you're seeing a lot of these people in TradFi that are actually really, really in tune with what's going on with these blockchains. And they're gonna leap over all the stories we told ourselves, and then they're gonna go straight to like these things need to make money. I want the value accrual token. I want the hyperliquids. I want the Solanas. I want the whatevers. Turns out, there's a lot of dumb people, and they're aping the shit. They're rerunning the same stuff that we did. So like, if they are actually rerunning the stuff that we did, is there going to come a time? Maybe it's when the capital runs out of them and all their homies, and they start looking around the room and they go, "Why the hell is this thing worth $10,000. Like, if you look at how it actually functions and these things that we actually want, which is the stable coins, why would I like, how does a stable coin on the chain actually drive value to me needing to hold Ethereum? Because I want to defend the chain because there's $500 billion of stable coins on it? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I don't want to defend the chain for free. Like, I want to be paid for holding this thing. I want to own the thing that's valuable. So, I would say like it's a thing of reflection for all of us, where it's like, yes, you're seeing that like your observation is correct. Like, it's just a different pool of capital that appears to be rerunning the same stuff that we did. They tell the same fantasy stories, and they're aping into these things without truly understanding whatever's going on underneath. Will there come a time where they go through the same journey that we did, where it's not just number go up every single day because of them and their homies are buying, and they have to go, okay, why is this thing worth this? Are they going to go down the same path that we did when they go, okay, well, how do you value these things? What's a metric that you can use to value these things? How do you gauge utilization? What's the forecast for yield? What's like all of these things that they're going to want to do? They're probably going to lean on industry experts that have developed these metrics over the last 6 months to quantify rev and usage and all this shit that that like led to us coming to that place where like we valued a hyperliquid, we valued a Solana, we valued like all these things. And yeah, I think we're going to go back there. Like I firmly believe that. But you ride the wave until them and their homies run out of money.
Okay. Very interesting. I'm conscious of time today. I do want to answer this.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we're cooking.
ETH beta question first before we get into the circle thing. We can leave the Do Kwon thing. It's in the past. He's a criminal.
Yeah.
Very bad. Yep. But we don't have time for a history lesson today. So let's lock in on the ETH beta question and the circle chain question. That also is what most of the YouTube comments are kind of asking about. So Dewey Begum in the comments said, is the altcoin season starting? We also had what do we have here? Yeah. We had a list of coins here. The Rob side saying loaded on Lido, Curve, Aave, Syrup. Again, it's all these coins that are like,
they're on ENA on there.
Yeah, potential ETH betas. But honestly, this I'm going to share it one more time in case people
I don't
just
even know if
joined.
they're. Yeah, I guess they're betas just because they're in the DeFi stuff. I think they're the closest things to it. I
I
think
just
my
really like this imagery though, man. Like the idea of the ETH beta being like an elusive beast. It really resonated with me, like somewhere inside, because I've just been there. I've been there in 2021 where I'd made a ton of ETH from NFTs. Actually, that was the thing I did at the time, and then I aped that. You know, the goal was always to get more ETH at that point. Forget the dollar value. I didn't care about. I was kind of irresponsible a bit then. Just like, don't care about the dollar value. Just make more ETH. That was the goal. And so many times out of 10, you put the ETH in and cool, it goes up because all these charts are charting the price in dollars, right? But then if ETH goes on this monster kind of run, you just find, and we just looked at the Aave chart. It's basically the ETH chart. So I'm not I feel that this is the issue for the beta chasers. I'm sure that there is a time window, like there is a time frame that if you were to change the chart, you could say, okay, yes, Aave outperformed ETH like in that week or something. But the question is, and this is the question I would want to reflect on myself, and I think my conclusion would be, what is the chance of me? And I'm reasonably good at this stuff. What is the chance I'm giving myself to execute the buy and the sell? Because then you've got to sell it as well, right? You've got to buy and sell it at the right time. And I'm just not giving myself, in a market like this where everything is moving so fast and ETH is looking so strong and everything is doing exceptionally well and you're getting pulled in different directions and your attention is kind of getting pulled. I'm just not giving myself a great chance. So I feel like the safest thing, not saying that you need to be safe here, but like ETH has gone up 3x in the last like couple of months or something. Like what else are you trying to do? You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it goes back to your previous point. Like it's all liquidity and flows and metas, right? So like there is no pure beta on anything, literally nothing. It's all like timeframes and riding a meta and trying to catch the thing at the right time, right? So whether it's what's the beta to Bitcoin? It's like, oh well, it's buying Ethereum, it's buying Solana. Like, no, that hasn't fucking worked for the last like, was it 2 years, right? It was Bitcoin's cycle, it was running, it was doing its own thing, and it was totally disconnected from the rest of the market, right? And then like, oh well, now Ethereum's running. It's like, what's the beta to Ethereum? And it's not like, as he pointed out, it's not any of the things that he did. It's not DeFi, it's not whatever. And like, yes, those things are likely to go up, but like it's all on their own time frames. There will be a meta where DeFi coins, because they're productive, will be the things that go up with regulatory clarity and like all the things that'll like uncap their potential. Like that is like right now the Ethereum beta, but like until the market agrees with that, doesn't fucking like it may miss it, or it may come like after the point where ETH has topped, and like then you start having these people rotate into these other coins. So yeah, like I think there's no beta to anything, frankly. Like
okay, so the one thing that tweet went on to say, and this is what I want to explore for people trying to answer the question, is NFTs. So like I think NFTs might be proving, at least up to this point, ETH has been on a big run right here. And remember, if the goal is to increase the ETH, forget the dollar amount for a second, because you don't, like say you're holding ETH, you're going to spend it on NFTs, taking everyone's tax considerations out of the gate. Like I know some people will be incurring, you know, you're realizing a gain when you sell it. But anyway, just assuming that you're trying to get rid of ETH to buy an NFT in order to try to make more ETH. Let's see how, like, is that something that is real? Has that happened? ETH has obviously run a lot recently, and you're looking at punks. Let's look at the floor price here over the last month. So it is clearly the case that for punks, the top NFT, bar none, you are seeing, you know, the floor price at around 40 ETH, and then, you know, 1 month ago and 30 days later, when ETH is much higher than 30 days ago, the floor price is 10 ETH higher. So you've printed a huge amount if you bought. So that is truly an ETH beta then, right? Like you can buy the top NFT and then it has gone up as ETH has gone up because it's this specific kind of Veblen good, I guess. However, okay, so that's the top NFT. Let's look at Pudgy's just to see in the same month time frame. It's not bad in a sense. It's kind of very much holding its values. It's a little bit up. Say it was around 14 ETH. Then there was a period of time as ETH was going up, it also went up to about 16 ETH. But then ETH has really gone on a run and it's kind of settled down again, right? Back to 14.4. So that's kind of interesting to see. Chromie Squiggles is a more classic one. It's interesting that the classics are, in a way, the classics are doing better. I'm just making up a term for classics and creating a bracket of NFTs around them. But Chromie Squiggles, the first art blocks collection by Snowfro 1 month ago at 4 ETH, now at 6 ETH. So up 50% in ETH in the month, whilst ETH has probably, you know, pushing towards doubling or around up 60-70%. Now, there's the secondary question here is that going to be the case now that ETH has already run this much? I feel like all of these things are going to settle down a bit because ETH has gone on the run. That's my view. My view is that these things stop ripping in ETH terms for a little bit because they have already ripped. But I think they need to settle first. I think we see ETH prices settle for a while on NFTs before ETH needs to slow down. Basically, this always happens with NFTs where they can move a lot when ETH is moving, but then there gets to a point where ETH is like too volatile, and then the NFT needs to find its like correct spot that people are comfortable with. So I think these settle down in ETH terms for a second here, until ETH settles down, and then they can go again if the market is going to continue to bid this stuff, which I'm inclined to think they will. So I'm quite bullish in that regard. Brad, your thoughts here on this kind of NFT perspective?
I'm coming out of the bear with a lot of NFTs. Like I have a, 6-figure position in a bunch of NFTs, right? So I was like, I want out of them. Frankly, I want out of all NFTs. I want to hold the native assets that I can quickly.
You always say this in one hop. Never sell.
Well, it's like there's layers, right? So like I want out of them because I want to be as close to the exit as possible, right? I want to be one click away from these tokens to dollars. And if you're an NFT, you have to go NFT to the main asset, and you have to go main asset to dollars, right? Because I don't want to be left holding the bag again. And whenever I was sitting there going into this like bull, trying to evaluate like when and how is the best way to convert from native or from NFT to native asset, looking back on historical numbers, it was basically at the top. And it's like the native asset peaks shortly after that is when like NFTs were going bonkers, and like the native or the underlying price of the NFTs were highest, and then like everything was down only after that. So it was native asset first, then like a cope play with the NFTs scrambling to buy like the underlying thing to be cool. And again, this is the 2021 cycle, so who knows if it even repeats. And then it was everything else, which was not great for me because it meant that like if I was to try to sell the peak, it means that the underlying asset's dollar value is already at its top, and like I need to get the fuck out. So I need to go from NFTs to basically dollars whenever I think the top is there. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar play out. Like you'll see the price for Ethereum go crazy. People will start getting exuberant. They want to start buying stuff. They're euphoric. They start like clamoring to buy the underlying like artifacts of the chain because it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then get out the door. Hopefully I'm on the other side of that trade and I can, make my way to dollars, at least for a short period at that moment.
I'll tell you one thing. So that's really, really interesting. I'll just tell you one thing, and then I do want to give you a chance, Brett, to just touch on the Circle news. We've run over today, but maybe just hit that out of the park in a second. Just the one learning that I had as I was not from the art world in any way. I kind of I always liked art, got into NFTs because I thought the art was cool, genuinely. But then one like learning on valuation that in hindsight was super helpful was when I started to go to galleries more, once I had started collecting NFTs myself, knowing how much NFTs cost, and then seeing how much real world art costs. And then honestly, in the peak, what you realized is like these prices are so insane because I would compare NFT art to like Picasso or go to my local auction houses and see like great artists work that are like these big pieces that can span a whole side of a wall, and you're like, okay, that cost 20 grand. It's like, okay, well, why on earth is this random photo of something put on the blockchain worth 25? Like it was a real disconnect. And I actually use that model a little bit in my mind now, where when I look at the art that I have or the other stuff that I have, just think like, what is this buying in the real? Because our world gets detached very quick. When ETH runs this fast, our world gets like really detached. And so I think you can be quite confident. Sure, who knows when trying to catch the top is not the game that I'm playing. The game that I'm playing is to sell for and on NFTs, it's to sell at an outsized price, like a mania price, versus, because this is part of my art portfolio now. This is not even the crypto portfolio. I consider one part of my portfolio like an art portfolio, and if something gets overpriced, then I can sell it. Whereas when I'm trading other assets, it's more like trying to take it from undervalued to fair value. Whereas NFTs, you always have these mania things where, actually, I don't know, maybe I'm just better at doing the mania side for NFTs, but I thought I'd just share that learning because it's like a valuation model that I don't think anyone else uses, because maybe they're not exposed to the IRL side, but it's definitely something that helps my thinking. Brad, we've run way over today, but it's been a good conversation. Tell us what we need to know on Circle's stablecoin chain. We had the question in the comments on YouTube, like, are these all going to be EVM chains? Are they building it by themselves? What do we need to know? How does the Stripe announcement from the other day feed into this? Tell us what we need to know.
Yeah, USDC issuer Circle announced its own L1, or plans for its own L1, I should say, which is named ARC. The tagline it gave for itself is, it's designed to provide an enterprise-grade foundation for stablecoin payments, FX, and capital market applications. And it has testnet coming in a few months. The basic architectural breakdowns, obviously it's an L1. It's an EVM chain, plus it uses USDC as gas. And then some of the underlying features, like it has opt-in privacy and FX engines. So I asked on the timeline what FX engine even means necessarily in this context. And through the white paper, I saw that it's basically, they just want to put a bunch of different stable coins on their chain and then allow you to swap between them, right? So you're doing actual FX trading between multiple stable coins that span multiple currencies. So you can actually just leverage that. Obviously the FX market, it's a huge market. So it makes sense that they want to capture that. Who knows if they actually will, but like them being able to issue a bunch of these stables in a bunch of different regions makes sense, being that they're, Circle, that's what they do. The thing that's interesting to me, I know, we had talked about it before, it's not bullish our coins. If it's neutral at best, because it is its own L1, it's its own separate environment. They're going to do everything in their power to steal all the usage and all the fees and all the users and all the everything from every other chain, which means why do you hold ETH or Sol or Hype whenever you have Circle or Stripe or whatever, doing their best to accumulate users? The one good thing that you can glean from this is that it still is, and this applies to Stripe as well, it still is a large entity doing their best to familiarize, normalize, and make regular people crypto native and or maybe even self-custody. It makes them more familiar with crypto. And it's much easier to get other people who are familiar with crypto to buy our coins than it is to get your grandma to buy your coins, right? Whenever you have to educate, give them a wallet, get them whatever. So this being an EVM chain, this being potentially a way to get someone used to digital assets and understanding the value of them and being used to them, makes them 1 or 2 hops away from buying your bag. And that is the hope that you have here, is that they increases the pool of crypto native users, because it's not necessarily bullish that Ethereum price or Bitcoin price or Solana price or whatever.
Okay, good stuff. Thought it was important to get that information out there. It's just kind of chains coming out left, right, and center, and certainly not from anyone, right? These are very, very big, heavy hitters entering the arena. So important to get that information and form a view on it. I think we'll see how it goes. As a reminder, I think we got to stop it there for today. Could have gone for longer today for sure. Running over. Good to have Brad back with us, of course. Just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for 1 hour live on X Video, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. You can catch us there too if you prefer to catch up. Quick shout out to a lot of these smart commenters we're getting on YouTube during the show. Got Mark Hoffman, Banana Republic, VX Crypto, Filch, Wraith, Zama, the Iceman, Sir Pink, the Rob Side, Dewey, Takeoff. Got a Nev from at the start of the show. Rahim as well. Fine, you know, you got the 4K call to gloat over us. A lot of smart people appreciating the commentary, the feedback, the live action. It's always great to have like the live kind of research and commentary at the same time. Just a reminder, we've got the Telegram now as well, which is going really nicely. We've got a bunch of people kind of just continuing the conversation, and where we can share a bit more about the protocols we find interesting in general. It's free. You can DM us on Twitter if you would like access. I think Legendary just messaged me to say we've got through all of the initial invites. We've got 100 something people in there now. So if you're interested, let us know. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. As always, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.